Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Racing Challenge. J.R. Gregory here on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, Avery McDonald today spelling Racing Ron Mons, and as usual in the production carrier, our friend and colleague Joshua Wilkie. Week 3 now of the Radical Racing Challenge is taking us to France, and my weak French pronunciation is Cirque de Nevers, Magny-Cours. It's a very interesting track. It was built in 1960, kind of went dark for a couple of decades and was revitalized by the Ligier F1 team in 1986. 7 corners, 4.4 clicks in today's layout. Past host of the French Formula One Grand Prix, current host of Superbike World Championship and French touring cars. And the current record of this configuration, 1 minute 15 seconds, .377, held by Michael Schumacher in the 2004 Formula One car. And I bet that was a sight to see Schumi flogging that old classic Ferrari around this course. So Magny-Cours presents some interesting challenges for the Radical drivers. I think it is very well suited to this car in a couple of respects. It feels incredibly planted and hooked up in that difficult turn 1, turn 2 section that we're seeing now, and a couple of long straights that will lead to some drafting. And on the downside for these Radicals, there are a couple of very slow corners that require hard braking, require the drivers to get out of those corners in first or second gear. Radical can be very tough to get moving from those low speeds. And of course, there are a couple of very high aggressive curbs that these drivers are going to have to decide whether to risk hitting or not. The Radicals do not like curbs, but there are a couple spots where, frankly, it's going to be mandatory, especially that final chicane coming onto the front straight. So, Avery, you're new to the Radical gig. I understand you spent some time with the SR8 and a little bit with the SR10 as well. What do you think we should look forward to in this race today?
I think one of the things to look forward to is there's a lot of long straights here and some really tight corners. So it's a lot of good passing opportunities for these drivers. And like you said, these cars don't like the curbs. So you got to be very cautious when driving with the curbs. I drove this car track combo for about an hour and a half this morning. And I tell you what, it was so much fun. I almost decided to do the race, but just an honor to be here in the booth with you guys. So I'm just looking forward to this fun track. And this car is just always puts on a good show.
Yeah, it is a hoot, and we just saw car one here. Looks like Lucas Vieira. Just saw him going through one of the more difficult sections, and again, I'm going to spare you my horrible pronunciation, but that combination, that right-left combo, the Nürburgring is the name of that complex here at Magny-Cours, and that is a super interesting one. It is high risk because you really have to, in order to get the maximum velocity through there, you have got to flirt with the boundary, and we may see some people take that just a hair wide on that exit, and we may see some slowdowns there. And here is our starting grid. Andreas Friedrich is going to be your pole sitter with Orieres next to him. Friedrich, recall, is P2 on the season. James Barry will be behind him in position 3. Barry currently leading the Radical Racing Challenge in P1 worldwide. Lucas Vieira will be next to him. Next row, Chad Fox, driving out of the U.S., which is good to see. Not a lot of U.S. drivers show up for these. Eric Canoy there in P6. Samuel Ma and Andy Thomas will be 7 and 8. And in the back row, Stuart Cassidy and Daniel Bonovitz, another U.S. driver. And yeah, I think we're in for a good show today. We have a couple of our top drivers here. Friedrich, definitely one to watch. And Vieira only qualified 4th, but I would not be at all surprised to see him making a move forward. Samuel Ma as well might have something for us that goes beyond his P7 qualifying. So here again is Friedrich. Well, that's him on the left in the 3 car. He is going to have the outside into turn 1, a little bit tricky here, and you'll see him take a very wide entry to set up for this fast double left combo. And there goes Vieira. There goes Friedrich. He's going to get away clean. Barry is going to jump Fox and go right up into P2 as they go in the front. And oh my goodness, kerfuffle right there, right out of the gate. And who is off there? Looks like Ma might have gone off. Yeah, we lost 3 cars there at the start. Not really sure what's going on. Meanwhile, Barry has already put an early move on Friedrich as they head down into this very difficult chicane. We're looking at turn 5 here for the first time, and as was mentioned, that is going to be a good spot for overtaking here as this race unfolds.
Yeah, this is a good spot for overtaking. You got to get a good start for lap number one, and you have to make it through the first corner. And these 4 drivers in the lead pack made through the corner. Friedrich trying to look to the inside of Barry there, gets a good run out of the corner.
Yeah, Friedrich and Barry, they may be in setting up to put a good show on for us today. And of course, Vieira right behind them. Vieira, the highest I-rated driver in this field. I think he's sitting at about 6.8 I rating, which is very difficult to achieve. So we've got 3 of the top 5 top esports drivers in the world here on Apex Racing TV today. So looking forward to a good one here as we complete the first lap. And this is one of the spots I was talking about with the curb. Let's see how much these drivers are willing to taste that one. That is a potential spin there coming onto the front straight. Car gets pretty bouncy over that high aggressive curb, and here we are into that double left-hander again off the front straight.
Yeah, very important to go through those curbs to get a good spot. Here comes a replay with Samuel Ma of the start.
Yeah, Ma's going to start here from P9, so he's going to be in the back. The number 8 car. Oh my goodness. And wow, I'm not even really sure what to say about that. It's quite optimistic move down the inside there.
Yeah.
Not going to make any friends in the paddock trying to stick that Radical down the inside and taking out a couple of competitors there. Although it doesn't look like anybody has parked it. We still have 9 cars on the track. So Bonovitz is in 10. Cassidy and Ma are 9 and 8 respectively, and they're going to have their work cut out for them going forward to work their way back through the field. Meanwhile, we have still Barry from Friedrich, Vieira, Fox, and Andy Thomas as your top 5. Looks like Barry, Friedrich, Vieira, and Fox are starting a train here at the front. And again, on these tracks with the long straightaway with a big draft with these radicals, getting in one of these trains is critical, because if you miss the train, you're going to be late. They're going to drive away from you.
Yeah. It's always important to get into the toe here, and here's a good battle for 6th, and that's Tono going to the inside. He was involved in that first turn incident, but not able to get the run. And like we're saying, on the curbs, around goes Ma.
Oh, Ma, man, I didn't call him by name, so I'm not going to take credit for the jinx, but that is a very iffy spot there. You have to be careful how much curb you take and how much throttle you apply there, and or you will go around as you saw Ma do there. And my goodness, props to Odieres on that tough move into that final chicane onto the front straight. That was some sweet driving, both by him and by the car being passed. It's shows a lot of skill, a lot of car control, and a lot of trust of these drivers. And here we are again, as I mentioned, through that tough Nürburgring section. You've got to get quite a bit of the off track there, but if you get too much, you're going to get a slowdown. So it's a gamble every time through there.
Yeah, Barry able to, take over that lead, and 1, 2, 3 drivers within a car length of each other. I mean, get your popcorn ready, because the show's just started.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like Fox is slowly catching up to the back of this train. It doesn't look like they're being super defensive here, but Fox nevertheless has been able to close down on Vieira, and is going to join this train. And we're going through this difficult curb happy end section there. And who is that coming from out of bounds there? Oh, and somebody got a slowdown there. Looks like that 6 car might have gotten hit with the slowdown. That's Eric, or no, that's Chad Fox that we were looking at before. And my goodness, what happened there? I guess Barry must have gone wide under braking into that last complex. I missed that somehow, but Barry has now fallen to P3. You got Friedrich from Vieira from Barry from Fox, and Barry making a big error at the end of lap 3 there, allowing Friedrich back into the lead. And Josh is telling me that we're going to get a quick look here at Barry. And again, this is coming into that critical final combination of corners onto the front straight. And you see Barry there. He's trying to cover the inside. Now takes it back outside, taking the usual line. Oof. And just outbrakes himself there. My goodness. Yeah, these cars, very fast, of course, but no anti-lock brakes. And the brakes getting the better of Barry on that one. And now he's looking at the top 3 from behind. And I'm sure he's kicking himself. He had a good thing going there for the first handful of laps.
Yeah, it was a big mistake for him, but it was a good recovery. I mean, he only fell a couple spots still in striking distance to get back up to the front. But one thing I've noticed so far in this race is nobody wants to stay in the lead, because they're all making a little bit of mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. Great recovery by Fox, and definitely could have been much worse. He is still in the train here, as you see Friedrich bashing that Radical SR10 over those curbs. As I say, it's kind of mandatory if you want to get a good exit out of that section and get good breakaway speed down that front straightaway. You've got to tickle those curbs a little. The question is how much. And then here we are on the main straightaway section here. Looks like we're riding along with Vieira, looking forward to Friedrich. About a half a second gap. You see the draft working a little there for Vieira, but not enough to get him within passing distance. But it did allow him to reel in Friedrich by a click or 2 heading down that initial front straightaway.
Yeah, it was really good to see the toe work on that timing and scoring tower on the left. He was within 0.8 of a second there, and it got the half a second at the end of the straightaway. So just mind your P's and Q's. It's only lap 5. And we're going to take a look back at the Bonowitz crash. He's the first driver out of the race. So
yeah, we might have caught the tail end of that. You see Bonowitz there is one of his front wheels not turning there, clearly broken suspension. He must have looped it coming through that last corner onto the front straightaway, into the tire barrier, and he has binned it. That car is in the pits, and Bonowitz, one of the U.S. drivers on the grid today, may be done for the day.
Yeah, it's good to see some drivers come out here for this race. This Radical Challenge is such a fun series. Take a look at the left side. Friedrich ran the fastest lap of the series the lap before, and then Vieira just took over the fastest lap. So they're running pretty much identical times, but we're not even halfway through yet. So you still have time to just to see where you're better than the car in front of you and try to find the best spot to make an overtake.
Absolutely, Avery. And of course, tire wear, we've commented on this, well, both last season and this season. Tire wear is going to play a role here. So if you beat the tar out of your tires through the early laps, you'll pay for it later. You do have to budget out your tires, particularly the fronts, with all these heavy braking zones and corners like this, where the Radical will tend to understeer just a bit. And looking back now, off of the back bumper of Vieira, and he has managed to gap Barry behind by 2 seconds. It's turned into a two-car train here, Friedrich and Vieira, and as we have observed, Vieira is slowly reeling in Friedrich. Couple ticks here, couple ticks there, and we are going to see Vieira on the attack against Friedrich again before this one is over. And as I say that, Vieira locks up coming out of the interior section there in turn 14. Lost a couple ticks, and now he's back to 0.6, so he's going to have to kind of regain his composure, let his tires cool off, and figure out what his next opportunity is going to be against Friedrich.
Yeah, a couple more mistakes, and Barry's going to catch the toe. But yeah, Friedrich and Vieira are the top two, and they're all running. The top three are running pretty much exactly the same time. So you can make mistakes, and that's the thing we've seen these last couple laps is some drivers make a mistake.
A great shot there from our producer Josh from the Friedrich's rear bumper there, and you could just hear those tires howling around that long sweeping right-hander. It's a lot of fun in these Radicals, but it does wear those tires down. And Vieira looks like he's picked up a 10th back of that the 10th back that he lost a moment ago. So now he's got it down to 0.4 as Friedrich looking in his rearview mirrors at Vieira with 7 out of 15 laps in the bag. There's a long way to go here, and Friedrich is going to be looking in his driving in his mirrors as long as Vieira is sniffing around back there.
That was a good shot. Looking how much that the wheel is turning. Like you have to. That's a lot of turning, and you have to do that with this car, especially at this track. But yeah, it's really good. Just close racing for first and second, and Barry's just sitting back to go, guys, I need you to make some more mistakes so I can catch back up or make sure they start racing, because once these two start racing, that's going to bring Barry a little bit closer to him. So.
Yeah, and Barry's sort of sitting pretty. He's sitting in a podium position right now, watching what is sure to be an aggressive move by Vieira on Friedrich in the near future. So if those two come together, he'll obviously benefit from that. Maybe get a couple of cheap slots, and he's got a 2-second gap behind him to Fox. So, or actually, that has just widened out to over 4 seconds now. My goodness. So Barry really sitting pretty at the moment. And remember, Barry P1 on the season so far. We have not seen some of our hot drivers from last season, such as Kane Halliburton or Ennio Baba. I'm not sure if they're just skipping these early tracks or they've moved on to a different series, but without those two, the top step of the podium is wide open, and Friedrich and Barry are both gunning for it.
Yeah, not a good sector for Vieira there. That's fallen back to second is the gap between him and the lead, and it's 1.2 seconds between second and third. So a couple more mistakes, Barry can start reeling him in with the draft. It's very close to where the draft will start pulling him up.
Yep, you get, I don't know, 0.7, 0.8 or so, and you'll definitely start feeling that pull on these long straightaways, and there's a few of them on this track. And yeah, Vieira with another bobble. I didn't see what happened, but it could be that he's overdriving that car a bit trying to catch Friedrich. And I'm telling you, these Radicals will torture those front tires and blow them right off the car if you're not careful how you use them throughout the course of the race.
Yeah, you want to be very cautious with your steering inputs and getting back under the throttle and braking. And there's a purple time for Friedrich, so fastest in the session at 133.5. Ain't nobody's touched that time yet, so we'll see if he's going to keep getting faster, as the fuel load comes down a little bit. And if he's driving with good inputs and the tire wear is just being kind of even, we could see even faster throughout the rest of this race.
Yeah, we could. And here's our top three again. We got Friedrich from Vieira from Barry. And here they are approaching that turn 5 hairpin area, I believe. Yeah, that's where we are. And heading again to that tricky Nürburgring ring right-left combo, and you can see Friedrich there taking a lot of the green off-track area, which is the necessity. Haven't seen any slowdowns there yet, which I was sort of anticipating. So the driver's approaching that with caution and avoiding that brutal slowdown. Pick up a couple tenths by going a couple inches to the left, and lose a couple seconds by going over that invisible line that iRacing has painted here.
Looking at that battle for 8th here, Cassidy and Thomas, very close. So you're always racing somebody, which is always fun when you're in the sim race. Whether you feel like you're battling for 8th or you're battling for 1st, as long as you can race against somebody, that's what makes it very enjoyable. So it's good to see a really good battle on the track for the 8th position.
Yeah, it is great to see. And remember, folks, this is not a secret Radical Racing Club. This is not a league event. We are showing the top split of the public Radical Racing Challenge here on iRacing. So if these cars look like fun to you, you're right. They are an absolute blast. Go ahead and purchase a Radical SR10. Get out here, throw some laps down. And if you like the car as much as we do, join us here at 2100 GMT on Friday, and you can see yourself racing on Apex Racing TV. And there is, where we're looking at Thomas kind of overcooking that slow right-hander. And as I said at the opening, there are a couple of tough spots on this track for these radicals where you really have to woe the car down and get it moving again, first or second gear. And both of those things can be very challenging in these cars with high horsepower, not much tire, and no ABS or traction control. Riding along with Samuel Ma now, has had more than his share of troubles, but has still managed to be in P7 and putting down decent laps. Looks like his best is a 137. Of course, the folks up at front, Friedrich's hot lap now is 133.5. And we are anticipating that is going to continue to drop here. We're 2/3 of the way through lap 10 of 15. There's Eric Hanoi working his way around. And I'm not kidding about joining up here, folks. Get into one of these radicals. Join us on Apex Racing TV, and you can see your name in lights.
Yeah, it's a great thing that this Radical Racing group has done to the crowdfund for this telecast. It's a different car than you normally see on Apex Racing TV, but it's a very fun car to watch and to drive. One thing I want to point out, Vieira down to 2.2 seconds back from Friedrich, so a little bit of mistake there. So Friedrich has a lot of track behind him, but yeah, really good group of drivers. I've been watching every week, and I'm hoping to maybe make my debut in a couple of weeks when I have a little bit of more time to practice besides the hour and a half before the show. But yeah, really good group.
Oh yeah, that would be great, man. It'd be great to see you show up and fight it out here. And yeah, I'm guessing that Vieira, we'll see if we get him in here for an interview following the race, that he has run out of tires. And not only has he dropped 2 seconds back of Friedrich, he now has Barry all over him. Barry's reeled him in down to 0.6. So when he was looking at P1, now he's got to think about defending his P2 from Barry.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Vieira, he really needs to get the second place finish if he wants to gain some I rating and get a good points for the race. But if Barry can get up to second, it'd be a good points day for him. I think it's a pretty decent SOF, but yeah, and you also want to always get a better position. So keep an eye on Barry to try to find a weak spot for Vieira at the track and to make a good overtake. So
And here riding along with Vieira, now looking back at Barry as they set up for that long left-hander. And man, that was a blast in this car. I'm a GT3 driver normally, and that long left-hander is very sketchy in the 911 GT3R that I typically drive. And this thing is just hooked up, floored in fifth gear. It is, you can't get the smile off your face driving these radicals through one of those high-speed turns like turns 1 and 2 here at Magny-Cours.
Yeah, and the Radical's also a good car to learn with. I mean, it's different than a lot of the other cars, so you can just, it's always good to drive something different every once in a while to keep yourself fresh. I know for me, when I was practicing here earlier, I was really good on the straightaways. The corners, we weren't very good. So,
Well,
but yeah,
what do they say? Fast cars are for straightaways and fast drivers are for corners, right? Something like that.
yeah, I'm for straightaways.
Yeah, and you are absolutely right about these radicals. And here's another thing I can tell you: if you get one of these radicals for a season and master this car, it will absolutely make you better at every other car that you drive. A lack of electronic nannies, massive amounts of power, and the very kind of responsive steering and great road feel, almost of a prototype, will definitely make you, mastery of this car will make you a better driver, no doubt about it. And look at Barry. He is now all over Vieira, and you got to wonder if he has plans for Vieira down at this turn 5 hairpin at the end of the front straight. See what happens here.
Yeah, very able to get a good run, only about 0.3 of a second back, and really in the toe. But it's still a little early, because if you try to pass him now, you leave another lap to go. But big send in for Barry. We'll see if it's going to stick. It does, but crossover. Nice pass.
Yeah, full send by Barry. Barry showing his mastery of the brakes on these radicals, but Vieira, still sniffing around the outside. Looked like he wanted to foreclose Barry, taking the full line in Nürburgring. And here we are in another slow section. And folks, this one is not over. Vieira, we saw him put a move on Friedrich, so he knows what he's doing. He may have overdriven the car there during the middle part of the race, but you can let these tires cool off a little bit and then get back after it at the end of the race. And that's kind of where we're at right now, lap 13 of 15 with 2 to go, and Vieira has now closed that gap to 0.3. He's not letting Barry get away here. Meanwhile, Friedrich, of course, has driven away up at the front, 3-second gap. You got Friedrich from Barry, Vieira, Fox, Ordieres, Hanoi, Ma, Thomas, and Cassidy among the runners. That's your top 9. And Bonavets, of course, stuffed it coming onto the front straightaway out of that difficult final complex. I'm betting that he curbed it, looped it, and stuffed it, which leads to parking it.
Yeah, back up to the leader with Friedrich just on a Sunday cruise. Got some nice elevator music going on in the background, maybe having a sandwich or something while just putting on a clinic here. Really good run for him. But yeah, Barry started to pull away a little bit from Vieira there, but back up into the toe. We noticed one thing with Vieira coming out of that final corner. He hit the curbs and had a lot of wheel movement there. So take a look back at a replay.
Yeah, well, hopefully while Friedrich was enjoying his Sunday drive, he was catching a glimpse of this in his rearview mirror, these two radicals side by side heading down into turn 5. Vieira said, "Do you think you're good on the brakes down here? I can do the same." Can't quite get it done on the outside. Oh, yeah, and then gets loose on exit. And as I was saying before, very tough to get the power down effectively on these radicals. Just a bit too much throttle, and rear wheels will light up, and you'll lose a big chunk of time, as we saw Vieira do there.
Yeah, still has a chance. I mean, with the white flag out for him, they got 1 lap to go. So, like I said, still a chance for Vieira to make a move on Barry, but there's a couple more spots to make it. We'll see how aggressive they are. And sometimes it's good to pull a little fake move to where you think, make them look like you're going to make the pass and force them into mistakes. So, but Barry's been calm as a cucumber all race. So,
He has, and he is our season leader. Now, Vieira's got that gap down to under .4. He is going to get a draft here, and it remains to be seen what Barry's going to do. Barry wants to cover the inside here. Oh, and fakes covering the inside, leaving the inside open for Vieira. Vieira gets through. Oh, my goodness. And how's Barry going to react to this? There's another passing opportunity, folks, right down here after the Nürburgring chicane, and slowing down to first or second gear here. And is Barry going to try to stuff it in? And it looks like not, as Vieira has widened that gap ever so slightly to get out of the strike zone. Wow, what a move by Vieira on the last lap.
Yeah, Vieira had a really good attack, but then equally as important, a really good defense, and that kept them into the second position, but still not over. A couple more corners to go to make a mistake.
Yeah, and are we going to see a send by Barry coming down into the, obviously Barry wiggling a little bit there, and he's going to lose a little bit of that gap. We could see a send right here. It's about Barry's last opportunity, or he may just satisfy himself with P3. Meanwhile, there's Friedrich. Friedrich has won Magny-Cours. What a drive by him. He had some tussling initially, had some pressure from both Barry and Vieira, but withstood attacks from both of those drivers, kept it consistent, kept it clean, and ended up driving away. And that has been Friedrich's trademark. He hasn't always been at the top of the podium, but what he has been is consistent. He's always right there, very few mistakes, and we saw the race come to him, as they say, in this one.
Yeah, it was a really good run by Friedrich to ran a pretty much a picture-perfect race. Yeah, a couple of mistakes in the beginning, but once he got clean air towards about the 4 or 5 lap point, he just pulled away really good. Just had a really good run, and it's good to see Ma here finishing up 7th place. Really good job for him. When you're the number 8 car like he is, your goal is to always finish better than your number on the car, and he most likely going to take home 7th. There we go, 7th place for him.
Yeah, he did manage to punch above his weight a little, but you got to think that result could have been better for Ma. Saw him with a couple big, I think he was part of that initial off and saw him spin another time. So good recovery drive from Ma, and way to keep going instead of just going, I'll do the next race instead. Ma sticking with it. And here is Cassidy, our last running car, crossing the line. So there it is, week 3 from Magny-Cours. About what I expected. Very tough, challenging course, and these radicals taking great advantage of the draft, and we saw that lead to a couple of really nice passes into turn 5. A couple other pretty interesting moves into that final complex too. What am I looking at here? Yeah, the 15, 16, 17 with the high curbs. Saw a couple of very, very good moves there. So great racing today from some of the best esports drivers in the world driving these radicals. And there are your final results. Friedrich drove away with this one by almost 5 seconds. Will come in first. Vieira, we saw him fighting Friedrich and Barry, manages to hold on to P2 after losing it to Barry briefly, but Barry unable to hold him off. Barry will finish in P3. Chad Fox in 4th. Orieres in P5. Hanoi in 6th. Samuel Ma, that we were talking about after a few struggles, hung in there, scored a P7. Andy Thomas in 8th. Stuart Cassidy in 9th. And Bonovich, we saw him again stuff it there in the early going, and he parked that radical. So the only car out of our 10-car field not to finish. And here's another look, and this is Vieira. Oh, this is Barry actually getting the inside moved into turn 5 on Vieira. We saw them change spots there a couple of times, and what a show that they put on. Wow, what a fantastic race.
Yeah, it was a great race, top to bottom. Yeah, we had a little bit of a oops on the start, but at the end of the day, still 9 of the 10 cars finished, and these two put on a show, especially when, they both wanted second really bad, and they rated each other pretty clean. But like I said earlier, Vieira made the great overtake, but equally as important, he made the great defense. And I think having a good defense is a little more difficult, JR, just because you really don't know what the other driver is going to do. And it's like you want to leave him enough room, but you also want to, run as fast as you can. So Great race all around, top to bottom. It was a blast to watch.
Yeah, and on the defense, the interesting thing about these radicals is, the simple covering the inside line on defense doesn't always work for these things. You can get those cars to brake late and take the outside line, maybe a little easier than some of the, regular sports cars, GT cars that most people are used to driving. So they're quite diverse cars in terms of what they can do, and super enjoyable. Don't see anybody in the interview room here, but I can tell you folks, Apex Racing TV has got top quality racing for you 7 days a week. This weekend we've got V Sport Sports Car Challenge, a mixed class racing event at the Indy Road Circuit. That is going to be on Saturday. 2 Ray esports events, Formula Ford Weekend Warriors at Olton Park, blast of a track, and Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors at Phillip Island. And going into next week early, 2 strong GT3 events. We've got the ARL Apex Racing League GT3 Trophy at the fantastic Imola course, and our brand new client S1 Racing GT3 Series will be running Wednesday at Road America. So hit that subscribe button and be sure to check notifications as well so you don't miss any of the action. Non-stop world-class esports here on Apex Racing TV 7 days a week. And that will do it from France, round 3 of the Radical Racing Challenge. J.R. Gregory here for Avery McDonald, our buddy Joshua Wilkie in the production booth, pushing your buttons, spinning your knobs. Happy Friday, and have a great weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.